Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. This is Gary Wilson, your host. We're glad to have you back. Hey, if you haven't done so already, would you please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite channel? It's iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it. And while you're out there, go visit globalinvestoragent.com. This is where you're going to find the real agents that you need to work with, not traditional agents. These are not typical agents. They're trained to work with you and I, the investor. They know how to identify, analyze, negotiate on and off market deals all over the country. They have access to every parcel, every person, every factoid, every piece of data you need to possibly strike a good deal. So that's what, if you're an agent, you definitely need to check it out, because as this market changes, the investors are the ones that keep the business going. It always happens, always will. And if you're a smart agent, you'll tap in now and learn how to figure it all out. So in any case, great guest today. Rod Khleif. Rod, thank you so much for joining us, man. I know you're busy. I know how lucky we are to have you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Gary. And I love that. Massive passive, not mediocre passive, freaking massive passive. My catchphrase is massive freaking action. That's how you get anything you want in life. But I appreciate you having me on, brother. Let's have some fun.
Glad to do it. What's funny for everybody listening, we just discovered Rod and I are about a half hour away from each other.
That's right.
So, in any case, hey, Rod, if you could, I've read your bio. We've obviously had a great conversation, and I love your story, man. I think people need to hear it. Anybody out there that's just trying to figure out, how can I get from where I am to where I want to go? I just got beat up the last recession. Just listen to Rod. So, Rod, take it away, man, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I'm going to go way back because it'll add some framework to what we're going to talk about. So I'm an immigrant. I immigrated this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vantje. I was born in the Netherlands, Holland, wooden shoes, windmills, great cheese. And we ended up in Denver, Colorado. And when we first got here, we really struggled. And I remember eating expired food because we shopped at an expired food store. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning, which sounds better than it is, I promise you. But that's all we could afford. I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school, until I lied about my age at Burger King so I could get a freaking job and buy my own clothes when I was 14. And I'm sure you've got listeners that had it harder than I did, Gary, or maybe have it harder now even. But I will tell you, I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she was an entrepreneur. She actually invested in the stock market. She did IPOs. And she actually also invested in real estate. Well, her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street from us. When I was about 14, she paid $30,000. When I was 17, she told me it had gone up. It was worth $50,000. It had gone up $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You just made $20,000? You didn't do anything? I said, screw college, Mom. I'm getting into real estate. So I actually got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. I was a broker, not just an agent. You could do that back then with education. Now they get smart. You need some experience before you can be a broker. But I was actually a broker right when I turned 18. And I was going to be rich, okay, in real estate. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. Maybe $10,000. My second year in the $10,000 to $12,000 range. But my third year, I made over $100,000. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened, Gary, was I met somebody that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the mechanical stuff, that we talk about on our show, real estate, entrepreneurship, whatever it is. And, it's the do and it's the keep doing. And fast forward to today, I've owned 2,000 houses I've rented long-term in 3 states. I've thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might be like, wow. And I was like, wow. And, that's $8,300 an hour over the year in a 40-hour work week. And of course, I did the math and I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. And thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2008. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008. And so one of the things I'm known for talking about on my podcast called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing, is the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And more importantly, or at least as important, the mindset it took to recover from that to the success that I'm blessed to have today. So, we can chat about that if you like, Gary, or go anywhere you want with this.
Yeah, go with the mindset, because everybody listening, the people you know me, I'm going to tell you this right up front. I can teach you, Rod can teach you the academics of investing, but it's not. It's only going to get you so far. It's what's in your heart and in your head, the alignment between the two, and your outlook on life, and it's really just your connection to God and the universe is the most important thing. It's what makes everything go. It's the road you want to travel down, and allows you to put up the guardrails so you stay in your lane and achieve success in a way that's a lot more meaningful and in alignment with everything else. I promise you, when you live in abundance, you live in the flow, you're going to have a much easier time. So yeah, keep going with that.
Abundance is all around us. One of the things, if you come to one of my boot camps, I've got one coming up the end of July in Denver, 3-day boot camp. And I'll just mention this, not a sales pitch. And I'll tell your peeps how they can come for $197, literally for 3 days of training, kind of a no-brainer. And I teach people how to buy apartment buildings. But the first thing we'll do there, and the first thing that my students do when they get into our program, is they do goal setting on steroids, because how the heck do you get anything if you don't know what the heck it is, right? You've got to know what you want with clarity, and you've got to know why you want it. So we do this, I call it goal setting on steroids, the first hour of the boot camp. And so, because you've got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. Okay. You've got to really want it. And that's how you push through fear and limiting beliefs and or maybe you're comfortable in the comfort zone's a warm place and nothing freaking grows there. Right. So you've got to have that burning desire. And that's how you get it, by clearly outlining what it is you want and why you want it. And so I'll take a minute. I'll describe that process. But if you can't make my boot camp the end of July, if you go to rodslinks.com, at the bottom, I did this on January 1st with music. It's professionally done. I've got a guide you can download, and you can do this goal setting workshop and, do it with your spouse, do it with your kids. It's very, very powerful. So again, that's rodslinks.com. But I'll tell you how you can come to the boot camp for $197 later, but the price has gone up. But I'll do this for you because you're a friend of Gary's here. But here's the thing. So I'm going to describe the process to you because it's very powerful. So you pick an hour when you have a lot of energy. Okay. Don't do it after a heavy meal, or, make sure you're well hydrated, and sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. All the stuff. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. The houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes. How much, write down how much cash flow you want from your real estate, say in 3 years, and then again in 10 years. Write down how much money you want in the bank in 3 years and 10 years. So, all those things. But then take it much further than that. Write down everything you want to do in this lifetime. The bucket list stuff. Like, I've got a friend climbing every mountain over 14,000 feet. Where do you want to travel? I've got a travel vision board for me, where all the things you want to do as well. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane 3 years ago. I'll never freaking do it again, but it's off the bucket list. So that's the kind of stuff. Write that down too. Then also write down everything you want to learn. So it's not just the stuff, it's everything you want to do, be, or have. What's sad, Gary, is people spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. This is designing your life. So write down everything you want to learn as well. If you want to learn multifamily real estate, for God's sakes, come spend 3 days with me in Denver in the end of July. But, write that down. And then lastly, write down who you want to help. We'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves, and like I bought my parents a house here on a canal when my dad was alive. I bought him a car, took him on cruises. Who do you want to do something for like that? Write that down. And so again, and don't let the pen leave the paper. If you're analytical, don't stop and analyze it. Just keep writing and until you can't think of another thing, everything you want to do, be, or have. Then once you're done, there's a couple more steps. You need to put a time limit on each goal, how long it's going to take you to achieve it. Put how many years you think it's going to take. Put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20, recognizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. And I'll give you an example of this. Now, I'm going to give you a couple examples. Please know I'm not bragging. I just want to inspire you. Okay. So when I lived in Denver, okay, I knew I always wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver, but I would visualize the palm trees and the sand and the surf and the waves. And 20 years later, I built this incredible $8 million, 10,000 square foot home. And Gary knows where it's at, on Casey Key here in Florida. And that was unthinkable when I was 18. But the point I'm making in that is so don't limit yourself again. And then once you've got a number by each goal, I want you to pick your number one goal. And I mean that goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, you know you've arrived. That goal, put it on a separate sheet of paper. Then then I also want you to pick your top 3 1-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper and leave room in between them. Like if you go to Rod's links, you can download the guide there, but you can do it on a piece of paper. And leave room in between them, because a couple more quick steps. So at this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do a New Year's resolution that's forgotten by the middle of February. But again, there's a little more. I want you to write down under each one of those goals why it's an absolute must for you to achieve it. Okay. Not a should. It has to happen. And use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful. Words like amazing, beautiful, incredible. You might say, so I can show my kids what incredible abundance looks like. So I can show my wife or husband what it means to have a life of amazing freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, bring whoever we want, whatever's going to juice you, write that down. Once you've got a little paragraph under each one of the goals of a positive reason why you must achieve it, I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve it. Okay. Why? Because humans will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. So you want to use this. This is what's going to get your butt up early, stay up late, work Saturdays, to grind for a few years like most people won't. So you live the rest of your life like most people can't. So put some pain in there so I don't feel like a failure. So I don't fail my kids. Make it hurt. So I don't fail my wife or my kids. So I don't live a life of regret. Gary, there was this nurse in Australia. She was a hospice nurse. So she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? She wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't imagine anything worse than that. And this is what prevents that from happening. Okay. So once you've got your reasons why, the last thing is you must either make declarations or get pictures of the things that you want and put them around you. And I'll give you some examples of this. So Jim Carrey's a great example. When he was flat broke, the musician, not the musician, the actor, comedian. Anyway, he wrote himself a check for $10 million when he was flat broke. And he used to go up by the Hollywood sign and he'd visualize cashing it. That's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. Give you a more recent example, Demi Lovato. When she was unknown 12 years ago, posted on social media, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Not this last one, the one before. Go see who sang the national anthem. I'll give you some personal examples from me. Again, it's not me bragging. Just want to inspire you. Okay. This stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. But when I first got my real estate broker's license, I got this 4-door Ford Granada. Piece of crap. Bench seat in the front. I figured I had to have a 4-door to show houses. Okay. And this is just a piece of junk. Anyway, I worked for a guy. I dated his daughter, and he had 2 Corvettes. He's the guy I was telling you about that initially taught me about mindset. And he let me drive one of those Corvettes. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I got a picture of a Corvette out of a magazine. This is way before the internet. Put that on the visor of my Granada. Within a year, I had a Corvette, a beautiful Corvette. Every time I sat in there, I had to look at that picture. Got a couple more examples. This is back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. Okay. Remember the actor Tom Selleck? He was a detective in Hawaii, and he drove a Ferrari 308. It's the first time I saw an exotic car. I'm like, oh my God, that's so incredible. I got a picture of that actual car, put on the visor of my Corvette. So every time I sat in that Corvette, I had to look at that picture. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example, another car example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. And I had posters in my room growing up. And what's interesting is my son collected models of exotic cars when he was 9 years old. And he had about 30 or 40 of them, Ferraris and McLarens and Porsches. And he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I got, which I ultimately wrecked. So get pictures, put them around you. In fact, I'll show you something. You put this on YouTube as well, or just on iTunes?
YouTube.
Oh, you do?
Facebook,
okay.
Yeah.
So here's my planner. Okay. Now, those of you that can't see this, I'll describe it. In the back, I've got pictures that I've had for 20 years. First pictures are my gratitude pictures. Why? Because everything in life comes through gratitude. These are pictures of my kids when they were young. My kids are 30 and 26 now. So I got my gratitude pictures. That's how you manifest whatever you want in life. You call it prayer, you call it visualization, whatever. Then I've got pictures of things that I wanted. This top picture looks just like that house on the beach I built on Casey Key. I had 10-foot high glass like that, travertine floors before I ever built it. Now I live in a compound. I've got 6 buildings. I've got a big main house, and I've got a 2-bedroom guest house on the water. I've got a media building with a video studio, and on and on. What's interesting is, Gary, you can see that those white walls in the bottom pictures there. That picture behind me is my backyard. See the white wall? Isn't that crazy? It's the same wall that's in these pictures. And because God's got a sense of humor, by the way, my old house on Casey Key is literally right across the bay. I see it out my backyard every day. It's hilarious. But then I've got, stupid stuff like watches. I got a few $100,000 worth of watches. Again, stuff I thought was important at one time. There's the Maserati. I'm sorry, the Lamborghini before I ever bought it. Rolls Royce, Bentley. Again, all the stuff that I got that I thought was important at one time. And again, if that stuff doesn't interest you, replace it with what does, because this freaking works. Do you agree with me, Gary?
Yeah.
You get these pictures, you put them around you.
That's right.
Anyway, so it starts with that, to create that burning desire. And then the next thing is you need to get around people that want more, like your global investor agent group. You want people that want more out of life, that aren't afraid of success, that aren't going to hold you back because of their fear of failure, jealousy, whatever. So you want to be around a peer group that thinks what you think is hard is easy. So peer group is critical. I remember back when, I was losing everything. I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, which is a real high level mastermind. Yeah. And there were people in there that were thriving through the crash. And they're like, 50 million, get up, you big freaking baby, go make it happen. That's the kind of people you want to be around that are going to push you and validate you and encourage you and inspire you. So make sure you pay attention to who you're hanging around with. And then, the next thing I will tell you is to not, first of all, figure out, where you want to take this and don't dabble in it. If you're going to do real estate, educate yourself. I know you've got a training program for your agents. I've got my boot camp. By the way, let me mention the boot camp real quick. If you're interested in multifamily, candidly, respectfully, you're crazy not to come to this thing. I'll tell you how you can get the ticket for $197. It's 3 days of training. It's not a sales pitch. I talk about my coaching for about 30 minutes. If you want to meet with my team, great. You don't have to. You'll get so much information. It's drinking through a fire hose about building your team, about picking a market so you analyze a market, finding how to find deals, how to find all the money you need for your deals, how to finance those deals, how to syndicate them, joint venture, how to manage the property. It's just an incredible environment. And I spend a lot of time on mindset and psychology, so you actually take action with what you learn. I've got my coaching students alone own somewhere between 60 and 70,000 doors that I know of. And I've only been teaching a little over 4 years. I'm super proud of that. And it's because they take action. So I spend time on mindset. And if you come, you will laugh, you will cry. I promise you, it's not like your typical real estate boot camp. And if you come, by the way, and you don't absolutely freaking love the event, just let me know afterwards. I'll give you your money back. No questions asked. It's never happened, but there's a first time for everything. And thousands of people have attended my boot camp. But anyway, to check it out, text my name, Rod, to 72345. Okay. And it'll take you to multifamilybootcamp.com. And once you get there, just remember the code RODFRIEND. Okay. That's how you can come for $197. It'll probably be $700 by the time this episode airs, but you can come for $197. And if you have any trouble at all, just DM me. I'm on every social media channel. They've even got me on freaking TikTok now. I couldn't spell TikTok 4 months ago. And I've had videos go like live viral with 700,000 or 800,000 views, but I'm on every social channel. If you DM me, if you've got any question, by the way, about multifamily, don't hesitate to reach out. And, but I hope you'll come to my boot camp. Like I said, it's kind of a no-brainer if you have an interest in the business. And Gary, of course, you're welcome to come as my guest. But thanks for letting me plug that. But so again, you got to have that burning desire. You got to want it. That's how you push through. You've got to make sure you're around people that want more out of life, that aren't going to hold you back. And I will tell you, sometimes that's family. And I will tell you, love your family, but choose your peers. Choose who you allow to influence you. And then you've got to make a decision. And the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off, like it's done. If you're going to attack the island, you're going to burn your ships because you're taking their dang ships home, right? That's a decision. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's not a toe in the water. It is freaking done. And then you're like a train on a track. And, but if you don't make that decision and you're not committed, you'll get knocked off track, frankly. And so, peer group is super important, making that decision. And then it's just massive freaking action. Okay. And it's also managing your focus. I'll end it with that. Focus is critically important. The most successful people on the planet are the ones that are the most focused. And, I listened to just a couple of podcasts. One of them is Joe Rogan. Another one is Tim Ferriss. Yeah, I've got a conservative, quasi-conservative and a quasi-liberal. But on Tim Ferriss's, I get excited about the 13 million downloads on my show. I think he gets that a week, and he interviews the best of the best in the business. The best athletes. Got Michael Phelps on there, movie stars like Arnold and Ed Norton and Hugh Jackman and Jamie Foxx, and then billionaires like Ray Dalio, CEOs. I mean, just the best of the best. And what he does is he deconstructs their path to success. And I started to hear a pattern, Gary. They all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So focus is critical. Now, if you listen to Gary, you're a leader. And right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders. Don't get me started on the fake news and all the crap that's out there. You've got to stand guard at your mind and just bring in the good stuff. Don't let that negative stuff come in. The news is not there to inform us. It's there to scare us. So keep that in mind. By the way, if you're not interested in multifamily, I still would encourage you to listen to my podcast because I do a clip every week called Own Your Power. And it's just about that. It's about owning your power. It's got music. You give me 5 minutes, especially those of you that are in the sales business that need to stay motivated. I'll juice you. Just give me 5 minutes a week. There's hundreds of them on there. It's called Own Your Power, those clips. And I'd love to add value to you.
Okay.
And so again, my podcast is called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. But anyway, yeah. Right. I could keep going, but I kind of been babbling here, so let me stop for a minute.
No, that's quite all right. So, and I have a couple agents out there actually in Denver.
No kidding, fantastic.
One's residential, one's commercial, but they both work with investors.
Nice.
Any case, we just get this. We picked up a brewery out there, and it's a brewery that everybody would recognize the name to sell. So
wow, very cool.
Pretty neat deal. But so back to what you're doing here then. I've been teaching for years, and mine's always been almost academic. Mm-hmm. But whenever I take people on to train, privately and coach privately, we always start off with a bit we call the vision exercise. It's 4 parts: vision, goals, action plans. And the old school philosophy was start off with your goals. That's Stephen Covey. I got to learn from him directly when I was a ripe old age of 26. This was 1989. And I didn't know who the guy was. He came to the bank, and of course I'm in the back falling asleep. And years later, I realized, man, I had a guru in there. I should have paid more attention. Well, I started applying what he taught me. You start off with values, and then you determine what goals you have based on your values. So what I did, Brad, is I put in a front end called the vision exercise that requires prayer and meditation to do it right. Because left to our own devices, our small mind will come up with small goals. But you really tap into the universe and the creator, okay, then you see what the universe's vision is for your life. And you write that down. And then your goals, you basically expand your field of vision. So instead of saying, I'm going to buy a duplex by the end of the year, you say, I'm going to buy a 100-unit building by the end of the year, Hi, Gary here. Just want to say thanks real quick for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate you doing that. And all I want to do is take a quick minute to introduce you to the Healing House Foundation. Okay, so if you're watching this on video, I'm going to let you see it. If you're on podcast, you're not going to be able to see it, but you can see it in the click on the show notes on globalinvestoragent.com, and you can see, well, that's the main website, globalinvestoragent.com. And so it's a great place for you to connect, not just with me, but with all the agents we have around the country, and check it out. But more importantly, if you click on the Healing House Foundation, okay, you can read all about it. And this is a 501(c), totally voluntary. Nobody here makes a dime. So all the proceeds, 100%, go to local needs in your area where you live for people that need help, all walks of life. I mean, every one of us knows somebody that needs help. And this is our way to come back full circle in the world of real estate where we make so much money. Let's help those who are in need. Sometimes they need a helping hand. Sometimes they need to be taught how to fish, and sometimes they just need to fish. Sometimes they need both. So this is a way for you to participate. Check it out. All kinds of stories, examples. It's very flexible in that we can earmark funds for a particular need that you have in your area, as long as it's related to the need of housing. That's all. It doesn't matter what the underlying circumstances are. We pray for healing for everybody. So in any case, thanks for indulging me. Let's get back to the podcast. And
honestly, it's the same amount of work, just FYI, but it's so scary. People are intimidated by that. But I can tell you, I spend a lot of time on that at the boot camp. If you come, you'll laugh, you'll cry. I promise you. It's not like your real estate boot camp. It's a lot of academic, but a lot of mindset. Help you create an identity statement that pulls you into it. I mean, just really good stuff. But I love what you just said about doing your vision first. And so that you expand your mind and you don't limit yourself. The only limits we have are the limits we believe are there, and they're not there. They're all in our mind. You say, I want to get out of my box. Just pretend there is no box, and I love it, Gary. Love it.
Yep. But you just like, it's like you gave the story of Jim Carrey. There's a famous clip of him speaking at a graduation ceremony. He said something very profound. He said, you should ask the universe for what it is you want. Mm-hmm. And for people who are praying people, you pray for what you want. One of the best lessons my mother ever gave me in her whole life, she was always mom that cooked the meals and put the Band-Aids on the wounds and made me feel better when I was feeling bad. But one time several years ago, she saw me by myself reading, about investing. She said, you really should just ask God for what you want in prayer. And boy, what a profound statement from a woman I've never heard of from before. And I've had experiences, guys, where I've literally received, verbatim to the T, exactly what I asked for.
Same here. I showed you my book here. Same here. I've got vision boards behind this green screen here, and I that's how it works. You might think Gary and I are in foo-foo land, but I'm here to tell you this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. So big mistake to not take it seriously. I've got pictures on the wall, the things that I want now. Statement right there on the wall, 1 million per month. It's above my bed as well. I used to say 100 grand. My wife hates it, but that's too bad. It's going to be there. And that's how you get this stuff, guys. And it absolutely works. I appreciate you letting me mention the boot camp. I appreciate that. It's something I'm really proud of and enjoy. I mean, you can see on the wall here some of the hundreds of thank you cards I've gotten from people over the years, the last 4 years since I've been teaching, whose lives have been impacted by my work. And it's a gift. You and I'm sure you get that feedback as well. It's such a beautiful thing. That's why we do it. It's not about the money. It's about, adding value and changing lives, right?
We're actually just started writing a new book. I was going to write it myself first, called The Global Investor Agent. So people really understand what it really means to be an investor agent on a global scale.
Love it.
And I came to realize, I'm telling my team about it. I said, look, I'm going to write the first half. I'm going to write the story of how this thing came to be. Then I'm going to have you guys write the second half. You're each going to get a chapter for those who want to participate. And it's just true to life. Only some of them felt like they had it within them to participate. They're going to write a chapter about their story and one example of investing or working with an investor. And at the end, we're going to give all the testimonials. And I downloaded the file yesterday. We got hundreds and hundreds of testimonials. And it's going to end up taking, I think, over 50 pages for just the testimonials over all the years. And then we're going to put in the back behind that all the transactions we've done since we started the team, not even 2 years ago. And we started off with nobody. By the end of the first month, we had 11 people. And then, it kept going from there. We've got well over 500 transactions already on the books. So for anybody out there who's not sure what to do, man, real estate is always the steady Eddie. It's tried and true. I don't care what the world comes up with as far as currency, digital currency, cryptocurrency,
that got creamed in the last few weeks, just FYI, as did the stock market. Right.
Yeah. I mean, with real estate, guys, remember, it's a tangible asset. And if you buy an income producing property, it's an income producing.
Yeah, let me mention something real quick. Yep. I know you have a lot of passive investors on this show that want to invest passively. Why would you give your hard-earned money to someone if you didn't understand the business? You more than ever should come to my freaking boot camp so you understand it. Okay. In fact, I've got if you go to that Rod's links, I've got some free resources there about how to select a general partner to do business with if you're going to invest in a deal. But the point is, learn, I don't care if it's the stock market, whatever you're going to invest in, for God's sakes, have some basic understanding before you give your hard-earned money to someone. So, all the more reason, if you can make it to come, even if you're a professional, like a dentist or a doctor or whatever, do what you can to come. You'll be glad you did.
Well, Denver's a great area to be in too.
Yeah, and it's United's hub. You can fly nonstop from anywhere, so it's kind of a no-brainer, honestly.
Yep. Well, let's do this. I know we're getting close on the half-hour mark. Let's go ahead and go over everything again. So I've got text the word, your name, Rod.
Yeah, Rod to 72345, and then use the code RODFRIEND for $197 ticket to my 3-day event. Again, not a sales pitch. You could go to rodslinks.com if you want, and there's tons of free stuff there. My free book, I've got a best-selling book in several number one bestseller in several categories that you can get you just pay the shipping if you want the physical copy of it. Lots of other free books there and resources, and that goal setting guide is at the bottom if you want to goal setting workshop that I did on January 1st. If you don't want to, if you want to just do that with your family, it's very powerful. But I appreciate you having me on, brother. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad to do it. If everybody listening, take Rod up on his offer. Just start with the text. Very easy. The Rod, R-O-D, to 72345. And you're going to get another message coming to you. Just remember, when it comes time to enter the code is Rod Friend.
Yeah, one word.
Yep. And you can go to the website, robslinks.com.
Rod's Links, Rod with a D, rodslinks.com. Yes. Yep. And the multifamilybootcamp.com is the boot camp site. If you just want to go there, it's multifamilybootcamp.com. And go to the bottom of that. You talk about testimonials. There are hundreds of raving, unsolicited testimonials there from my boot camp. It's a lot of fun.
You got it. So, okay, well, listen, everyone, if you could do Rod a favor and do me a favor too, when you're done listening, please leave a review for the podcast. Okay, and I think if you go to rodslinks.com, grab some of the information there that you don't have to pay for, by the way, it'll be well worth it. So the reviews are the currency of podcasts. It's what makes the podcast world go around. You don't pay for it. Everything we do is a community service, but it's the reviews that makes the world go around at our podcast. So thank you very much for doing that. And while you're there, visit rodslinks.com and also go to the globalinvestoragent.com website. And if you are an agent, boy, you really need to pay attention here, because the market is going to turn. And the transactions that are going to keep going are the investor transactions. That's what's going to put food on your table. And also you'll learn how to invest yourselves. Okay. So you guys take care of yourselves. We'll see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. God bless you and your families.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.